Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining in with Passages in Pranayama. So, this is a continuation from last week where we went through a series of quatrains from Omar Khayyam's Rubaiyat from this like 11th century work. If you had listened last time, I hope you have. It was Well, as I mentioned last week, I kind of took a lot of liberties and tried to tune his language towards spiritual development. Of course, like most readers of great, authors, you can't necessarily extract the full meaning of what their intent may have been. So I'll do the same, right? I'm going to do my best to kind of steer his words towards spiritual development. As I mentioned last week as well, Omar Khayyam, he was actually an astronomer and mathematician, and the Rubaiyat isn't necessary. It's not certain that he had actually written it. But it seems as if most scholars are kind of attributing this work to Khayyam. So, all right. So, we left off last week with the 30th quatrain, and we'll pick it up at 32. If you haven't listened last week, I strongly suggest you. There's wonderful content in that in that video. So check it out. Okay. Anyway, really get on with it. 32. And what I'll do is I'll read straight on through from 32 all the way through 40. Okay. Here we are. There was the door to which I found no key. There was the veil through which I might not see. Some little talk a while of me and thee. There was, and then no more of thee and me. Earth could not answer, nor the seas that to mourn in flowing purple of their land, Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. Then of the thee and me works behind the veil I lifted up my hands to find a lamp amid the darkness, and I heard, as from without, the me within thee blind. Then to the lip of this poor earthen urn I leaned the secret of my life to learn, and lip to lip I murmured, while you live, drink, for once dead, you never shall return. I think the vessel that with fugitive articulation answered once did live, and drink, and the passive lip I kissed. How many kisses might it take and give? For I remember stopping by the way to watch a potter thumping his wet clay, and with its all obliterating tongue it murmured, "Gently, brother, gently, pray." And has not such a story from of old down man's successive generations rolled, of such a clod of saturated earth cast by the Maker into human mold, and not a drop that from our cups we throw from earth to drink of, but may steal below, to quench the fire of anguish in some eye, there hidden far beneath and long ago. As then the tulip for her morning sup of heavenly vintage from the soil looks up. Do you devoutly do the like till heaven to earth invert you like an empty cup? It's so great. It's such a such great poetry. And again, kind of steeped in meaning, and we're taking some liberties on those meanings. All right. So be patient with me as I kind of skew it the way of the yogi. All right. So we begin with 32. And I suppose it's kind of worth noting that when we left off last week, the 31st quatrain was up from Earth's gate through the seventh, up through Earth's center through the seventh gate, rose, and on the throne of Saturn sate, and many a knot unraveled by the road, but not the master knot of human fate. And I suggested that the meaning potentially could be that of removing those kind of physical knots, mental knots, spiritual knots that we do through the practice maybe of yoga, could be through prayer, pilgrimage, and so on. Okay, but picking up at 32, there was the door to which I found no key, there was the veil through which I might not see. Some little talk a while of me and thee, there was, and then no more of thee and me. So, all right, so there's plenty to talk about here. The door from which I found no key, right? The door from which I found no key, right? A door could always represent, a new beginning, but not having the key to get through it is, kind of troublesome. So what exactly is the key in which we're looking for? It's a little bit like the fountain of youth. There's nothing literal about the fountain of youth, right? The fountain of youth is, the elixir, if you will, the golden elixir, as one may have called it in, centuries past in Confucianism and Taoism, where it's the elixir or the fountain. This is contained within us, right? It is in our daily practices. It's the way we kind of treat our body. And of course, well beyond that, isn't through the immortal body, physical body, right? It is transcendent, spiritual self, right? The transcendent self. So not having that key. So what is the key exactly? How do we find it? Is it even worth searching for? It always reminds me of, the search, right? In searching, you'll never find it, right? Not looking, right? Is when we discover those things. As we walk the path of yoga and Taoism and Buddhism and any spiritual practice, through Christianity, Islam, right? We can't actively seek. Oftentimes when we're looking, actively looking, searching for the highest goal, we never reach it, right? It's because it becomes desirous. Right? Is that a word? It becomes so desirable, right? And of course, we know that desire, right, it never turns out well, right? Desires, they cause anxiety. They cause the mind to become too unsettled, right? And we know that a clear mind, right, when the mind becomes very quiet, the transcendent self finally reveals itself. Okay, then that second line, there was the veil through which I might not see. And immediately when we hear veil, if you are a practitioner of yoga, and if you are If you've studied the Yoga Sutra at all, right, the veils come up as the kleshas, right? The klesha can be translated as the veil. One of my favorite translations of, well, that is actually one of my favorites, right? Sometimes it's translated as colorings or of corruptions of the mind, right? But the veil analogy is wonderful. You almost want to, as we become more awakened, right, we remove those veils, right? Sometimes the veils, plural, we wear many of them. Our ignorance, right, is sometimes very thick. And therefore, the reality, quote unquote, we see before us is not, in fact, reality at all. Our ignorance has covered it up. The ego has covered it up, right? The 5 kleshas, ignorance and ego being the first, attraction, aversion, and then the will to live. These are the 5 kleshas that oftentimes kind of direct our karma, right? Move us in certain directions. Right? It's so really, really cool, like neurological studies being done, so much so that think about supermarket food, right? We're naturally drawn to certain aisles if we have something on mind, if we have a hunger pang or something like that, that is kind of directing us towards certain foods. We practically lean certain directions if we're attracted so much. All right. Anyway, so those veils through which I might not see. Some little talk, a while of me and thee, right? Me and you. Me and you. Well, who's the you? And then he goes on, there was, and then no more of thee and me. All right. Some little talk, a while of me and thee. I'm going to go back to this idea of having desire. He goes on. So I'm going to assume, again, I'm making some presumptions here, that the thee, the you, is the self, right? It is the, yes, maybe it's more romantic than I'm allowing it to be. I think one of Khayyam's, excuse me, more famous quotes is about drinking wine and enjoying it with a lover or something like that. It comes much further down the Rubaiyat. But anyway, but we're going to kind of, again, skew things a little bit. The thee we're going to assume is the self, right? In Vedanta, we call it the true self, the Atman, right? In Sankhya philosophy and yoga, Patanjali's yoga, we call it the Purusha, the spirit, right? That is that which is within us, right? The thee, the you, we're going to assume is the self or the spirit. So some little talk a while of me and thee. There was, and then no more of thee and me, the talk. So some little talk a while of me and thee. There was, and then no more of thee and me. So this idea of like, it's not talking, we know, right, from early on in the Yoga Sutra, that the mind has to be clear, calm, without any disturbance. No vrittis, no turnings of thought. Right? And that's when the Purusha, right, reveals its true self. The spirit, that is. 33. Earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn in flowing purple of their Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. So earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn. So in search, right, in search of the spirit, right? I almost want to say a little bit what I was talking about last week, the concept of borrowed light, right? It's this search outward in an attempt to find what's actually in, right? It's the search for the fountain, but having never found it, maybe eventually we realize that it's actually within us. Right now, it's a little complicated, right? Because those things of nature, right, earth and sea and the Lord and heaven, these they're almost like archetypes in many ways. They're right. These are symbols of nature that, well, we find if right the Spirit is revealed to us, finds great comfort in, you know, identifying with. Okay, so some things, when it comes to nature, it's important to realize that they're so good. They're such a, well, they are our physical. They're the part of our physical bodies as well. Okay. In 34, then of the thee in me works behind the veil I lifted up my hands to find a lamp amid the darkness, and I heard, as from without, the me within thee blind. Then, beginning, first line, then of the thee in me works behind the veil. Works behind the veil. Yeah, right? All those veils must be removed first, right? For, the Spirit, right? The thee, the Spirit within you to be revealed. I lifted up my hands to find a lamp amid the darkness. The concepts that we hear all the time, right? The guru, right? The remover of darkness, right? Here, a lamp amid the darkness. To find the lamp amid the darkness. Here, the light, as I mentioned in the last episode of Passages in Pranayama, the idea of borrowed light. Now, right? We're finding our own light, right? And I heard, as from without, the me within thee is blind. This is an amazing passage here. The me within thee is the one who's actually blind. The Spirit can see just fine. That is us. We're the ones who are blind. It's the phys, right? The whether we're going to think about it, because we use the word blind, the sense perception of sight, right, is limited. It's limited. And it's weird because it's not as if the transcendent state, it's not like you're going to well, I mean, you might be inspired to create mentally worlds and realms of all different types. The journey inward isn't necessarily the journey that we might find climbing a peak and viewing a vista necessarily. That place of deep quiet, or at least in my own experience, right? The place of that deep quiet, and I want to say solitude, but it's not. It's the deepest of connections. And it is as if we go back to the previous quatrain, it is, well, not knowing that you're made of the stuff of, earth and light and so on. It's not knowing anything. It's the feeling of deep connection to all things in the universe. All things. You can't separate yourself from it anymore. The ego is completely dissolved. And it's not even an understanding, right? It's because, again, that would require cognition. Right? It's I mean, feeling, that's what's blind. The only thing that we can truly see with is the state that lies beyond the movement of the mind. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Right? We are. It is. It is. My dog's spazzing out right now. 90-pound dog spazzing out is always a lot of comedy in it. So remember, right? We have to remember that it's us that's blind, right? The things that we see. And if I can end the talk, and we're going to do the pranayama like we did last week, if I can end the talk with this, right? When we attempt to understand, again, this is the cognitive state here, a thing, whether it's in nature or another person's intentions, right? me like making a lot of assumptions about Khayyam's poetry here, right? This is all like mental cognition. This is blindness, right? Before us now, obviously when we're working and dealing with relationships in this lower reality, it requires the tools that were given to us in this physical body, right? All the sense perceptions, our ability to absorb them, the actions that are kind of move forth from our current condition. And this is all part of that lower reality. That's fine. We must operate in that way, especially if you're like me, a householder. I do work, family. I love it. It's great. I sometimes feel like the path of the householder can be so much more difficult because we're like on this teeter-totter, right? One hand, many hours of the day, we are balancing our life work. And, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 2 hours a day, we have these moments to breathe and sit quietly. All right. So maybe this is the best time to begin our pranayama so we can breathe and sit quietly. So if you did not join in last week, we're kind of following the pattern that the quatrain itself dictates. Khayyam, he has the first, second, fourth lines rhyming. The third line is the outlier. So what we're going to do is we did 5 inhale retention, 8 exhale, 5 exhale retention. If at any time you find yourself a little bit more uncomfortable than you'd like, then please just breathe naturally. Okay? So remember, a little discomfort is fine. Moderate discomfort, maybe not so much, right? So you just move back into your normal breathing and sit quietly, okay? Okay, well, sit up nice and tall. Ears, shoulders, hips aligned. If you'd like, you can certainly close your eyes, right? You could take Khayyam Mudra if you'd like. Hands, palms face up, thumb and index together. I'd like to cover my belly. All right, my hands like so. All right. So just quieting your mind. Relax your eyes, your jaw, and your shoulders. Let's first inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale. And exhale. Focusing on your breath. Let's inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now begin to loosen control of your breathing. Maybe just keep your mind focused on your breath.